Time now to go beyond the headlines. In the wake of reports detailing racist, misogynistic, and anti-gay language used in emails by Jon Gruden that led to his resignation as Raiders head coach, criticism has now turned to the Washington football team and the NFL as the 40 former employees who came forward initially about misconduct in Washington are seeking details from that investigation. And the NFLPA is calling for the 650,000 emails to be released. And on Thursday, Congress added to those demands, sending a letter to Commissioner Roger Goodell requesting the documentation. Now, Andrea, I want to start with you because I know this year you've covered the Raiders, you've covered the Washington football team and done in-depth stories on them. What is your perspective on all of this?
There are so many tentacles to this, but I think that the common thread, which seems to be overlooked, and the NFL is all about promoting mental health, is the personal cost that this has taken for so many people. And it could be one of the women that you referenced involved in the Washington football team investigation who came forward, who basically just said, I'm numb and apathetic at this point to what's going on. To a colleague that Aditi and I have who is gay, who texted me, just said, do I want to work for a company where views like this might be there? And just the idea that I've been covering the NFL for 30+ years, and you keep the blinders on, but my God, I'm not naive to think of what people might be saying behind our backs, but is this is still really out there? So the personal cost is what really resonates so much to me. And then, of course, that ties into the issue of accountability, all right? For Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Washington football team, he was slapped with a $10 million fine, a slap on the wrist, literally speaking. As a point of reference to the Washington football team and the fact that no investigation has come out, when Tom Brady was charged with deflating footballs, a 243-page report was produced, but nothing further here. Now, I have spoken to a league executive who said to me, you have to understand that the league often turns a blind eye to off-the-field transgressions by owners. But here's what's going to be interesting. Next week, the annual fall meeting for the owners here in New York City over the course of 2 days. And this executive at the league said to me, I would be shocked if one of those meetings isn't just the owners all together discussing this issue with respect to accountability for Daniel Snyder, as well as where they move forward with the release of these emails.
For me, this is like, are we going to call out what's actually happening, or are we just going to sit by and watch it happen? We've seen NFL players being held accountable at the highest level, from Michael Vick to Tom Brady to Ray Rice. I mean, there's a laundry list of players. We've seen them do jail time. We've seen investigations and the police called in, and the players they walk a fine line in constantly being ridiculed. Then you look at the coaches. The coaches have an opportunity here to step up and say something. Gruden, I feel like he's really the scapegoat for them. Yes, he's done some horrible things and said some bad things, and I can guarantee you he is not alone. But guess what's going to happen? Coaches get fired. Later, they sit around. They get rehired. No problem. But now we're talking about the owners. Woo, America, you're not ready for the owners, because the owners now, we're talking about the good old boys. We're talking about 32 owners who understand exactly what each owner is capable of doing and what their responsibilities are. And Roger Goodell works for those 32 owners. Who does he work for? Them. He's committed to them. So who's really going to police the owners, if you will, and hold them accountable?
Only each other.
No one.
Only each other.
But the NFL is a microcosm of America, and it's the same thing. The system is broken, and are we really going to dig in and figure out what's wrong with the system and why we don't have equality? Because the NFL, yeah, they're rolling out all this new stuff about equality, but this is old. And when it comes to women and these 40 women whose voices have really not been heard, who's accountable here? And we as Americans have to decide if we want to support the NFL and how we want to support them. And we have to force these sponsors to also step up and say, hey, something is not smelling right. We smell a rat and we need to fix this. And how do you fix it? How do you fix it?
I don't know. And I got to tell you, you said this is old. This is frustrating. This is sad. This is upsetting. Enough is enough. We sit here every week on this show and we discuss this over and over. We demand a culture change. We need more acceptance, more inclusion, more equality. And it's just, when is this going to happen? And it's not just in the NFL, and it's just not just in sports, but it's in life in general. And you mentioned something about sunlight, cleaning it all up. When are we going to get that sunlight? And I want to go back to what happened last week and after the resignation, and a bunch of coaches were asked about their opinions on it. And to me, Brandon Staley, the new head coach of the Chargers, what he said really stood out, because you are a leader. He's a leader, and people follow you. And Daniel Snyder and John Gruden, they failed. They failed everyone. You can't look up to them as leaders. Well, Brandon Staley, he was a leader. Let's listen to what he had to say.
You know, I think that respect and trust in this world are really, really difficult to achieve. And I think about all the people that were affected by those emails. Whether you're a person of color, whether you're a person, a gender, your sexual orientation, the people that were affected by those emails, that's who I'm thinking about. You know, for me, leading this football team and being someone, hopefully we can, be a light for those people in those emails, that not everybody's like that there's far more people that will love you than the opposite. And hopefully this will be a chance for everybody to come together instead of go apart.
You know, I met Brandon Staley for the first time on the sideline just last Sunday, and I actually said to him how much I appreciated this. And what I said was that, as you said, there are 32 men in this position. It is an opportunity to lead, and he took that opportunity. And what he said to me is that he didn't expect this moment to go viral. He wasn't trying to necessarily make a statement for the whole country. He was just speaking honestly about how he felt. And so when you talk about the way people are so casual in their misogynistic language, when we talk about these 40 women who were involved with the Washington football team and asked for some sort of redress or some sort of help, support me as I feel diminished, as I feel violated, as I feel disrespected. I think, to Brandon Staley's point, we at the NFL, and I will say we because I am indeed an employee of the NFL, we have an opportunity to lead. How do we lead? How do we say we are not going to accept this sort of language so casually spoken? We don't do that if we don't have transparency, if we don't have accountability, if we don't tell the country at large, if we don't tell women, if we don't tell the LGBTQ+ community, if we don't tell people of all ethnicities and races. We are going to weed this out. We will put a spotlight on it and we will get rid of it. But if we keep burying bodies, we're saying it's okay that those bodies are there. Get rid of that and show the sunlight, as I said. I think it's vitally important to move forward. If we're going to stop talking about this, it's not going to happen until we actually say, okay, this is the ugliness, and we're getting rid of the ugliness.
And just remember very quickly, money is always the core of everything. And to Lisa's point, she mentioned sponsors. 20 of the women involved in the Washington football team investigation have come forward to sponsors and asked them to take a stand here so that there is more transparency involved. And remember, the last time sponsors were involved, change with the Washington football team nickname came from that. So let's just see if, again, money plays a role in this, and that can help push the investigation and push the information coming out of the investigation forward.